Welcome to another beautiful day where ignorance is bliss. Today we'll be looking at this feminist panel that's discussing beauty standards in modern day society. So let's jump right into it.
Standards. We talked a little bit about this got brought up at the beginning. How does that tie into femininity?
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed, which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen to me, the less value I will have for society. So, I'm already...
Okay, I'm going to have to argue with that off the bat because I think she's conflating sexual market value versus listening to you in terms of just generally listening to you. Because in general, I think people still listen to you. If you've got something worth listening to, people will still listen to you, independent of how you look or what age you are. I would dare argue that the older you get, the more you are listened to, because with age comes wisdom. Maybe once upon a time, it's a bit trickier now in this generation. But yeah, let's see how that goes.
Starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my beauty. That's one of my privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm...
When did beauty become a privilege? Isn't it just a state? If you're beautiful, you're beautiful. End of story. I don't see what...
Getting fatter. Things are changing. And I think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty privilege should be discussed, because we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that, it's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
I saw it.
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin. So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a privilege. And men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
As a Black woman, one of the most integral parts of the beauty conversation.
Call me out in the comments below if I'm wrong, but I see this mostly in Western society. It's always as a Black woman, as a white woman, as a Hispanic woman, as this type of woman. Where I come from, it's just men and women. And I mean, yeah, we've all got this history with slavery and all that, but it seems Western society is still so hell-bent on that history. It's almost like they don't want to let it go. They have to hold on to it as a reason for everything they feel is wrong in modern day society.
Has been colorism. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, proud of it and proud of being myself. For the most part, I did not... Why am I going to cry about this? I did not grow up thinking I was beautiful because I was that. And I think in the Black space, we have these conversations, but I think I'm glad you're bringing it up, because I think feminists actually really should be part of the colorism topic, because colorism is not just shades within being Black. It's shades because the beauty standard is the closer to whiteness you are, the more beautiful you are. I think it's something that if more people in different shades, particularly white women, because of knowing that standard, and we work together on that, then we have a lot, I think, something we can unify on, but also something that we can make strides in right now that I'm just not seeing. And it's only, again, that's why people feel like you have to be a Black feminist, because it's a topic that only really Black feminists are talking about. Because
you see, now even feminism has been given color. It's now Black feminists, white feminists, Hispanic feminists, which to me again makes no sense. But back to what she was saying about this is basically about the beauty standard, right? She is saying that it should be talked about by black feminists about, you know, the beauty standard and so on. The reality of the matter is people have preferences. Some prefer, you know, whiter people, some prefer light skinned, some prefer dark skinned. And if you are referring to modern day society where a lot of black men are leaving the black community, that shit is not because of the color of your skin. We have black skin too. That shit is because of the type of black women that they're experiencing, especially in places like America. You see all of this chaos online about, you know, passport bros and whatnot and so on. That's not because of the color of your skin. Maybe feminize that, or feminists should be talking about that.
It deals with being black.
How do beauty standards make you feel, Morris?
I mean, kind of what you're saying, Antonia, as a Black Latina woman in my community, right? Like, I grew up and I was ugly, right? Like, that's what I was considered. I was not considered beautiful, of feeling ugly, but also being told I was, right?
Again, does that have anything to do with the fact that you are black Latina, or that just people just didn't see you as attractive?
Had a lot to do with what is believed in my community, right? Colorism is one of them. And so to say, I'm going to redefine beauty for myself, and to say, I own myself and I get to decide what's beautiful, right? And I get to decide what I want to wear and how I want to wear it. And I don't need to, right? It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to feel myself, because if no one else is going to feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
I gotta say though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman with a disability. And that to me always fed this idea that disability doesn't mean beautiful. I am in some form of exceptionalism, which I then had to keep up with forever. So it's like, I got this thought as I started to age, like, you can have no legs, but you better not fucking get fat. And so this idea that, like, there are certain people who are beautiful and certain people who aren't, and that inherently holds value, is, I think, you know, fine.
Again, there are certain people that are beautiful in other people's eyes, and there are some people who are not in other people's eyes. It's respective and depends on who you're talking to, in what situation, in what circumstance. Because again, you know, if you're talking in an office setting, it's obviously different. Dating setting is obviously different. So I still don't get it. There are people who are just more attractive than others. And there is a standard. Society has always operated on standard. Everything operates on a standard. There is a phone that's better than a particular phone because it meets a certain standard. It passes a certain threshold. There are clothes that feel better to wear than other clothes because the material is of a higher standard than others. If we now go and say, oh, because of feelings and so on, we should disregard the reality of standards and the reality of the fact that certain things are just better in certain aspects than others, it makes absolutely no sense. Things are just as they are in society. It's not about how a particular individual feels about it.
It in yourself, yes. And
Jordan?
Beauty standards are toxic bullshit hierarchical nonsense.
There we go. There we go. I do agree there's an extremist aspect to beauty standards, especially when you talk about like the modeling industry and requiring bones, skin and bones. But I mean, that's, yeah, there is always a far right and a far left to every situation. But the reality of the matter is there is just a beauty standard. We need to have a certain level we consider, wow, that's beautiful. Everything can't just be beautiful. Otherwise, what value does beauty then hold?
And I say that as someone who has spent over a year collectively of my life in eating disorder institutions, because I have tried to put my body through hellish things to meet these beauty standards, which more often than not are not based in reality. They're typically trends, they're created to
That's not
push
the
things, they're
standard sort.
extremely useful for marketing, but they don't serve anyone's health, they don't serve anyone's self-esteem. they only act to try and tell us that there's a allegedly right way to have a body. And if you don't occupy that space and have that body, then you're a piece of shit, which is absolute nonsense. And there are way too many women.
Yes, what you just said is absolute nonsense. No one has ever said if you are not um, skinny and skin and bones, you are an absolute piece of shit. No one.
And men in the world who end up doing terrible things to themselves because they fall into this trap of thinking that you have to be this way. And if you aren't this way, then there's something inherently wrong at your core, which is nonsense. You're perfect the way you are. That's literally the core of it.
No.
You are perfect the way you are. And
No.
anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is feeding into this industry and is just, they are not your friend or looking out for you.
You're not perfect the way you are. What has gotten humanity where we are today is our ability to constantly grow, constantly improve, constantly become better. If we were to sit back in Neanderthal times and be like, we are perfect the way we are, where the fuck do you think we would be right now? No way. Because we were like, no, I can do better. I can be better. I can get better. And so we always strived for more. In today's society, with this whole acceptance, accept me the way I am business, where are we supposed to grow towards if everyone is supposedly perfect the way they are? Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Layla?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative, but also we have to remember a lot of the beauty
Extremes,
standards are
people.
based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry,
Yes.
certain weights, things like that. So there is that side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing so much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that like, if women really cared about beauty standards, like the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
Let's
about
try
you?
to attain the beauty standards. I just think like some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just, where
That's
I
just
rate
the
myself
world.
1 to 10.
We're not rating, it's okay.
That's what I mean. Like, I just think like some people
So
are more
if you are
attractive.
overweight, you don't care about beauty standards.
Well,
Is that right?
the point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Your standard?
But obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
I know, from my experience as well, is growing up again in a mostly white neighborhood but I was always comparing myself to literally other people who have a different body type, but I wasn't.
But that's not the
I was
standard's
considered
fault.
other or to something because it didn't conform to that body type. When that same body type became popular with Kim Kardashian, the Kardashians, who are different, right, than me, let's just say, are different skin color, right? And there's a lot of animosity, in a lot of, black communities of the fact that when it was on black skin, it was an issue, but when it was on Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, it was $1 billion business.
Yep. Our time together has almost come to an end.
Okay, a majority of this still makes zero sense to me. Most of the points they made are more feelings based and not facts based, except for Pearl, who seems to state facts, or seems to be one of the only people stating facts here. If you disagree with anything that I've said, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll be happy to look through and get back to you on that. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.